Hey guys, thanks for joining us on this special episode, and don't forget to support our Patreon. Just $1 or more will get you early access to all of our content as well as other special features. Enjoy the show! The following is a fan-based video review under fair use. Murders of the Rue Morgue is owned by Universal Pictures. Please support the official release and streaming services.
This?
I just want to make sure.
Spies have reported from the warrior's travels to Transylvania. Count Dracula is alive.
He might have a lead to a creature of the dead that I may have use for.
If there's any vampires we know in our circles, she's the one I trust the most. Is it true that Count Dracula once ruled the 7 clans of the vampires?
Moka is an S-class vampire. They are one of Dracula's most powerful assets.
I'd advise informing your father on this matter and telling the council, along with doubling security at Yokai Academy.
The Dark One will retain your power and restore your rightful rule.
Let it be war for you, Count, for you will not escape my eternal wrath! I will speak with your master to ensure that you would thirst for.
Accessing archive. Attention viewers, BigJackFilms is unavailable at the moment due to his quest for the King's Gauntlet. But he has left a recording and substituted host for the show for you to enjoy.
Once again, fellow mortals, to our final installment of this year's annual BigJackFilms Halloween special. And for our final review, we're going back to 1932, with a somewhat forgotten film in Universal Studios' horror cycle, but made it into, ironically, a culturally significant part of their history, especially here on this channel. With that said, let's take a look at Murders of the Rue Morgue, starring Bela Lugosi. Loosely based on the short Edgar Allan Poe story, in 19th century Paris, a case of young women have been going missing has haunted the city streets. Medical student Pierre Dupin, played by Leon Amis, thinks he has a clue to the crimes and pursues solving this mystery. He and his fiancée, Camille L'Espiage, played by Sidney Fox, have recently visited a carnival sideshow where the maniacal Dr. Miracle, I see how they pronounced it, played by Bela Lugosi, resigns to show off his large captured ape as a sideshow attraction. Dr. Miracle, however, is more than just maniacal. He's an absolute madman by not only being the culprit who abducts these young women, but injects them with ape blood in an attempt to prove ape-human kinship. He constantly meets failure as the abducted women die, but when Pierre Dupin discovers what Miracle is doing, he's too late to stop him as the mad scientist abducts Camille. Now he desperately tries to enlist the help of the police to get her back as Miracle takes a liking to the pretty Camille and uses his gigantic ape and her to complete his final experiment. Full of classic Universal horror traditions, an iconic star to lead, and amazing production design for 1932, Murders of the Rue Morgue is easily the most underrated of the studio's horror cycle of the Golden Age. But in many cases, you can see why. Mainly because the movie doesn't have an iconic monster. I mean, granted, Bela Lugosi is in it, but he's not playing Dracula or even Igor from the later Frankenstein films.
Yes, he was hunting.
If anything, at this point, he's now the Dr. Frankenstein of the film, and here, he actually does a great job. He was fresh off the success of Dracula and was expanding his career in stardom at full force in the early 30s. He plays it off with such a sick, demented class and probably has the most evil role next to Dracula with all his crazy medical tests and breeding experiments.
My life is consecrated to great experiment. I tell you, I will prove your kinship with the ape. Eric's blood shall be mixed with the blood of man.
Again, that was kind of Germany for you in the 1930s. Unfortunately, the rest of the cast is pretty forgettable as all hell. And you'd think I'd be used to it at this point, but maybe my expectations are still hoping for a decent set of human characters. It's not impossible for a genre like this. Look at how many lovable main characters you get in other films, from crime dramas with Humphrey Bogart,
He's looking at you, kid.
or the swashbucklers with Errol Flynn.
What's the matter, Gisborne? Run out of hangings? I know a ripe subject for one.
These horror films need class act characters such as these, but unfortunately at the time, the horror genre was seen as taboo. Here, it's kind of validated because the topics are not just risky, but feel uncomfortable to watch. The early 1900s had a huge interest in human-ape relation stories, ever since the discovery of gorillas in Africa in 1902, or the early books of Equatorial Africa by Paul de Chaulieu. Apes were considered the wild man of the forest, so the concept of our connections to them stemmed back from the early beginnings of their discovery. And Rue Morgue was not the first film to bring this topic into exploitation or to filmgoers. The early days of film were the first viewing for the world of apes and monkeys in general, since very few zoos had them in captivity. In 1930, a black exploitation film, Igangi, was one of the first and most successful due to its attraction subject, which is pretty fucked up all things considered. So Rue Morgue is surprisingly the most tame despite its shock value. Another thing to compliment the film is its production design, striking a huge resemblance to the German expressionist horror films of the silent era, like Caligari or Nosferatu, and even the likes of the Phantom of the Opera. Ironically, a lot of these old Universal monster movies pay huge thanks to the Germanist expression films. Though it also has a glow in its nightmare aesthetics, which feels like a forbidding predecessor to the cinematic style of the Wolfman. But to end this review, I gotta talk about the monster with the ape himself. And much like Konga, it's not too impressive and feels a little out of place. However, here, it feels more acceptable given better production designs, story centered to the themes, and for being a prototype for what would come. Tell me if this sounds familiar. An ape falls in love with a girl and by the end of the film carries her atop buildings while the townspeople keep an eye on him from below, and eventually is shot and falls to his death. If you guessed Dr. Caligari, you are somewhat correct. But no, of course it's essentially the prototype to King Kong, ironically released the next year in 1933. So there you go, folks, you get a King Kong review in this year's Halloween special. It's practically the same ending, but also feels like a prototype to other movies, one of which actually being Disney's Beauty and the Beast, with the man confronting the beast atop the rooftops and trying to kill it. But that's just my personal perspective. While films prior like Caligari did the same thing, it feels like Rue Morgue set the genetic code for all that would come after. The ape was visualized in two ways. For the most part, it's an awfully made ape suit, but I give it a pass for the time given it was one of the first of its kind outside of the likes of the Ape Man from The Lost World. The suit would later be used in other Universal movies, all of which co-star with Bela Lugosi, but for most of the facial expressions and close-ups, it's a real chimp. Oddly enough, this technique of using a real ape for close-ups was something many Kong adaptations considered, but never did. But other than the Kong similarities, the film is mostly forgotten about and not as popular as the other Universal horror titles at the time. The same can be said for the other two Universal films inspired by Edgar Allan Poe's stories, and both star Boris Karloff and Bela Lugosi with The Black Cat and the Raven.
Ho! You're avenged!
But with the Kong attributes and being a well-produced film at the time, not to mention not many left of the classic monsters to look over, this film I felt was a perfect way to end this round of movies. Overall, Murders of the Rue Morgue is an underrated classic in the Universal Studios horror cycle during the Golden Age, with Bela Lugosi leading the charge, some amazing production design, and the prototypes to one of my favorite movies of all time. It's a film that's worth digging up and rediscovering to see where many tropes began, coming in at a decent 9.2 out of 10. It's worth checking out and seeing it for all it holds. And that about wraps up this year's annual Halloween special, everybody. Maybe someday we'll look at more of the Universal Studios monsters and horror films, but this year I just wanted to showcase the final set of main monsters I missed out on before. So let me know your thoughts on these films in the comment section below. Do you like them, do you hate them, or do you like the original run better? And what's your favorite Universal Studios monster? So until the next video, be sure to comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. This is BigJackFilms signing off, saying Happy Halloween!
The medallion has been configured to find him, my lord.
Prepare the fires of incantation.
No! You must not awake the master!
Oh, you are mistaken. Your master already awaits my presence.
You lie! Master would never! Who dares to enter my presence?
One who will hold you to your oath.
My lord Gablor, it is such an honor. I see my friend Renfeild, a certain guilt.
Count Dracula. It has been a long time. When I had heard of your return, I made it my own to draw you out, old friend.
The pleasure is mine. How may I be of service to you?
Indeed, Count. A proposition. Do you still wish to reclaim your place as ruler of the 7 vampire clans? For I can assist you in forces. And sense your lust for vengeance of those who betrayed you within the council, especially Count Chapman.
That insolent runt has no entitlement to the count. I would be pleased to see his head on my wall enemies. That include Belmont and Helsing equally.
His clan will be yours to deal with by your own wishes. His associates ally with my own enemies. I seek a task for you, Count. I seeked one of magic and sorcery in your circles many years ago, but he was banished back into hell by the powers of the Magi.
The High Priest, Amenhotep. He was a fool. His grace died long ago when he fell for the lust of the beasts.
Yet that French mortal corrupted your lust as well, did she not? Yes, that is the rage I love within. I seek the power within your circle of monsters. Do this task, and the position of Lord of the Vampire Clans is yours with what you see fit, including the hand of Shuzan.
Your proposition is granted, my friend.
As a token of my gratitude, I present you with 2 informative matters. It is said that a cloaked figure in Paris haunts its streets at night. Someone is looking for you. Do with this matter what you see fit.
I have made enough enemies. This will be nothing to me.
What if I told you that Shuzan has conceived a daughter?
Now this is interesting.